Welcome, everyone. We're going to start with priority one, which is Kara Burnett and Terry Smith. Floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Kara, and I'm presenting alongside Terry. As co-chairs, we're pleased to provide an update on our ongoing work under Priority 1 Strategy 1, which is focused on establishing pathways that support employee growth and development. This work is grounded in the understanding that our successes as an organization depends on the knowledge, skills, and confidence of our staff. By intentionally investing in our people, we strengthen our capacity to meet community needs and organizational priorities. Next slide.
One more. Thanks, Kara. I'm pleased to be here today to provide you with more information on the strategy. Our first step was to establish a working group, and Kara and I intentionally formed a group that included staff from clinical, community, corporate, and organizational effectiveness programs. Then, as a group, we spent some time strengthening our understanding of professional development, what it looks like organizationally, what best practice tells us, and where there may be gaps in our processes. Our review included findings from the Discovery Report, literature, research, and best practice guidelines, internal professional development processes and practices, historical staff feedback, staff input we collected through a survey, and internal data on professional development investment, including a review of PD-related budgets. As we considered all of the information together, a clear theme began to emerge. A solid orientation and onboarding into the organization would play a key role as an early form of professional development. We learned that in some of our programs, new staff benefit from a structured and supportive introduction that helps them to build knowledge and competence early on. While in other programs, onboarding is less formal and more dependent on learning through experience. This results in different starting experiences across the organization. At the same time, our findings were reinforced through collaboration with other groups. The HIVE, our Internal Health Equity Committee, along with the other strategic groups, including some of those presenting here this evening, raised complementary priorities that aligned closely with what we were already seeing. Together, this reinforced the importance of orientation as a key opportunity to establish a shared foundation for learning and success. With that clarity, we intentionally focused our efforts on orientation as a high impact, high reach area where we could make the most from this. This focus also strengthened our collaboration with human resources. An HR team member is part of our working group, and we've added quarterly meetings with the human resources manager to stay aligned with onboarding practices and organizational expectations. This assessment work helped us to clarify where our efforts would make the most meaningful difference. From there, we identified our main focus areas, set clear goals, and developed a logic model and work plan to guide the next phase of this work. Next slide, please.
As Terry alluded to, the three focus areas that we have identified and decided to focus on are strengthening professional development foundations, enhancing and standardizing orientation processes, and embedding processes that support long-term continuous learning. Our first focus area is clarifying what professional development means within our health unit. We collaborated with human resources to create a shared definition that aligns with our organizational goals. Our second focus area involves improving and standardizing orientation. This includes both the health unit-wide onboarding and the program-specific orientations. We're developing a standardized orientation checklist that programs can adapt to ensure consistency while still meeting their unique needs. We've also collaborated closely with internal working groups to embed priority organizational items such as Indigenous cultural safety training directly into orientation pathways. This ensures every new staff member receives the same baseline information and support as they enter the organization. Our third focus area centers on long-term sustainability, meaning that professional development is embedded into routine organizational processes. We're updating and aligning procedure documents to support continuous learning across an employee's career, helping ensure that these practices are consistent, reliable, and maintained over time. Next slide, please.
So building on the focus areas Kara just described, we developed a shared definition of what professional development means for our organization. We created a draft definition by bringing together what we heard from staff with what the evidence tells us about effective professional development. This draft has now been shared with the executive team and human resources and has been fully endorsed. It reads as professional development refers to a formal or informal learning experience that enhances competencies by strengthening knowledge, skills, and understanding. It supports both professional growth and organizational goals. PD activities are either a requirement or an opportunity as determined by the supervisor. Eric?
Having a shared definition of professional development is essential because it creates a common understanding point for everybody across the health unit. It ensures we're working from the same understanding regardless of role, program, or discipline. That shared definition also supports our processes and frameworks. By clearly defining what we mean by professional development, we're better able to design tools, policies, and structures that are consistent and coherent across the organization. Finally, it guides communication. A shared definition helps ensure that the expectations, opportunities, and decisions related to professional development are communicated clearly, consistently, and transparently to all employees. Next slide, please.
The other major part of our work is developing the organizational orientation plan. We have already made strong progress on the full inventory of how orientation is happening across programs, services, and roles. This includes looking at what's working well and where there are challenges, such as the role of mentorship, how checklists support staff, how general orientation connects to program-specific orientation, and how staff are supported when they move into new roles or leadership positions. As we complete the remaining pieces of this inventory, the information will be combined with the evidence we gathered earlier to highlight where greater consistency is needed. This will guide the development of templates, tools, timelines, and related policy and procedure updates to align with our new orientation format and professional development approach. This work prepares the organization for implementation by supporting a clear and more dependable orientation process, while also identifying the ongoing supports leaders and staff may need as those changes are introduced. Next slide, please.
Our overall goal, as outlined in our logic model, is to foster a culture of continuous learning and professional development across the organization by the end of December 2027. This will be supported through consistent policies, strengthened onboarding practices, and meaningful staff engagement. By creating more consistent orientation practices across all programs, we can ensure that every new staff member begins with a strong foundational understanding of public health and our organizational expectations. This will lead to a more supportive and aligned staff experience, reducing variability in orientation, supports, and access to learning. To achieve this responsibly, we also must remain mindful of our limited funding. This makes making financially responsible decisions about professional development opportunities we invest in to ensure that they align with both our organizational priorities and employees' goals. Next slide. Thank you. Question.
Did you want to do questions after everyone or no? Up to each one?
I'm just curious, you mentioned the challenges that you see in the inventory and so forth. What's working well and what's not working?
I think that what we've noticed is that there's a lot of inconsistency. So each program has their own unique way of orienting staff. So there's a little bit of inconsistency depending on where you start in the health unit. So that's really something that we want to strengthen. And what we see that's working really well is the mentorship. So some programs have a great mentorship system and are very supportive of new staff. And we see that the learning is much increased when that combination happens.
But maybe it's premature, but what do you see happening going forward to provide that consistency that you say is not there right now?
I think it's more of a mandatory system where each program has a template that they're working with so that the foundation is the same across each program.
Any other questions? Seeing none? On board, okay. Move on to priority 2. We'll have Diana Lozano and Taylor Matson. Close?
Services here. I'm here with Taylor Matson, a community health promoter in the sexual health and harm reduction program. We are happy to be here today and present on our recent priority 2 strategy one strategic plan. Strengthen organizational and public understanding of discrimination, racism, and racial equity as public health issues. Next slide, please. Our strategic priority began with a situational assessment, using evidence gathered through the strategic plan's discovery report, input from staff and community partners, a review of published literature and available quantitative data. We used this information to create outcomes we wanted to achieve by the end of the current strategic plan in 2027, identify activities to achieve those outcomes, and create timelines according to identified tasks. We are currently at the beginning stages of planning and implementing activities for 2 focus areas: organizational assessment and training. More on these focus areas will be shared later on in this presentation. Next slide, please. Before we go further, let's review a few definitions to get on the same page. Race is a social construct used to categorize people based on physical traits or features, for example, their skin color, hair texture, or facial features, and sometimes ethnicity, their culture, for example, their accent or manner of speech, name, clothing, diet, beliefs and practices, leisure preferences or places of origin, and religion. Racial categories may vary over time and place. Next slide, please. Racism is a cultural and structural system that assigns values and grants opportunities and privileges based on race. It includes ideas or practices that establish, maintain, or perpetuate the racial superiority or dominance of one group over another. Racism operates at internalized, interpersonal, and systemic levels. Next slide, please. Racial equity is the systemic fair treatment of all people. Achieving racial equity means that opportunities and outcomes for health and well-being are no longer influenced based on race. Next slide, please. Discrimination is an action, behavior, decision, or omission that treats a person or a group of people unfairly by either imposing a burden on them or denying them a privilege, benefit, or opportunity enjoyed by others because of their race, citizenship, family status, disability, sex, gender, or other personal characteristics. Next slide, please.
As you mentioned, our work group began with a comprehensive situational assessment. This included reviewing evidence from the strategic plan discovery report, gathering input from staff and community partners, and examining published literature and available quantitative data. Through this process, we identified significant and persistent inequities. Indigenous people and racialized communities, particularly newcomers, international students, and low-income families, continue to face systemic health inequities rooted in racism, colonialism, and social exclusion. We also heard that culturally informed organizations and diverse leadership representation are critical to building responsive health systems and strengthening trust within communities. Community partners emphasized that fear of stigma and discrimination often discouraged individuals from accessing public health services. These concerns contributed to underreporting of discrimination and reinforced the broader lack of trust in public institutions. Importantly, communities expressed a desire for genuine and sustained engagement. They want organizations to demonstrate commitment through concrete policies and practices, such as equity-driven frameworks, anti-racism initiatives, and culturally safe programs and services, rather than through performative or symbolic actions. Next slide, please. Our work group is currently coordinating or concentrating on two key focus areas: organizational assessment and staff training to strengthen internal processes and build capacity. Work group members have been divided across these two focus areas to ensure dedicated attention to each area. Next slide, please. As part of the organizational assessment focus area, the work group has identified several key outcomes. These outcomes emphasize increasing organizational awareness of racism and discrimination expressed by both staff and clients, strengthening our understanding of internal practices, and enhancing familiarity with relevant assessment indicators. At this stage, we're actively reviewing organizational assessment methods and approaches to better determine which areas of the health unit to focus the assessment on. Findings and recommendations emerging from the assessment will help inform next steps and support continued integration and sustainability of this work across the organization. Next slide, please. As part of the organizational training focus area, the work group's outcomes reflect the importance of ongoing learning and dialogue, recognizing that building culturally safe and racist practices requires continuous engagement. This focus area will also actively collaborate with internal work groups focused on professional development orientation, such as what we just heard from P1S1, as well as other health equity leads across the organization to ensure in alignment, shared learning, and coordinated impact. Training will look to be tailored to the diverse roles across the organization to ensure relevance and meaningful skill development, and the organizational assessment will further guide and strengthen this work moving forward. Together, these efforts will support improved staff knowledge of racism and equity principles, greater awareness of biases and privilege, and a deeper understanding of how systemic racism shapes health outcomes. Next slide, please. Thank you. Any questions?
Great presentation. Any other questions, please? The only question I might have is, I'm not sure how to name it. The information that you're getting, is it volunteer or is it mandatory to get all your answers that you need from the staff?
Be engaged with staff through senior roles. They kind of reached out to their teams and collected information based on questions that our work group had. And then we also reached out to community partners, and it was voluntarily for them to kind of communicate with us what they're seeing in the community. So,
but you got a lot of input out of it. Though. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that again? This is it's a great report. Dave,
What are the community partners you're dealing with?
So in an initial stage, we reached out to and spoke with. We talked to Canada College. We spoke with. We reached out to the DSAB in North Bay and Parry Sound. We also connected with other public health units across Ontario just to see what they're also doing within this work.
Multicultural center.
Well, I was just saying multicultural
Yes.
right across the.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, so you engage with that. The demographic of the municipality and the region has changed drastically as a result, mostly in the past 10 years of international students. So was Canadore helpful? I have a reason for asking.
Yeah, I think the initial conversation was helpful just to kind of hear what they're doing and what data they have access to. And the door was kind of left open for continued conversation as we kind of learn internally and share back with them what we learned. So it was helpful.
Did you engage at all with the Chamber of Commerce in their role in regards to the former RNet program and the new RCID program?
One of our work group members, Justine Pala, did mention the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm not recalling if she did end up reaching the group, but she did identify that group as relevant.
And my last question, because I know we're dealing, you're primarily focused on racism, but you do mention in your presentation a description or, a definition of discrimination. And discrimination crosses a number of lines, not just race. And I'm wondering if, as we deal with a broadening issue in difficult to house and homelessness in the community. Was that brought in any way? Do we find that newcomers and others are more affected by housing issues and so forth? And does that lead to discrimination or other effects in the healthcare system?
I think I've informally heard through housing tables, especially thinking of homelessness and Indigenous populations, that discrimination is an issue. And I think through our learnings in performing the situational assessment, intersectionality is an important consideration in thinking what determinants of health intersecting with race could propel inequities. So it's something I think that the training and education will help support our staff with, but we don't directly have plans to address specific issues of relating to other social determinants of health and how certain groups might be impacted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great question, even better answer. I understand this is it's a tough question to answer, but I think you come out of it fairly well. Thank you so much. Any other questions from online? You're good? Okay, we'll go on to priority 3. Chris Bowles and Danielle Hunter.
Thanks. Yeah, so we're here to talk about priority 3, strategy 1, which is ground our actions and our vision, mission, values. And so for this conversation, we go back to really the beginning. That's when we started talking about strategic planning and planning for strategy and implemented. So early in the planning phases of our new strat plan, the conversation focused on the need for the organization to produce an updated version of the vision, mission, and values alongside new priorities and goals. And so during these conversations, it became really clear that vision, mission, values are not static, but they're expected to evolve for organizations. I think everyone knows that. And then vision, mission, values, the development is integral and not separate from strategy. So aligning strategy with these is really important. Finally, strategic priorities are intended to flow from the vision, mission, and values of the organization. So rather than treating vision, mission, and values as symbolic, process for visited and was seen as a practical tool for alignment, accountability, and decision making their development a critical early step in our strategic planning process. And so on the next slide, we have our updated mission, vision, and values. So our vision of a healthy community for all, mission to foster healthy communities, partnerships, preparedness, prevention, promotion, and protection. And finally, our 5 values. So we're talking about accountability, we serve responsibly with honesty and transparency. Adaptability, respond flexibly to emerging trends and circumstances. Collaboration, we increase capacity and connection through partnerships. Equity, we act justly and fairly, respecting unique needs. And empathy, we are compassionate and understanding. And we can see these values in the previous 2 presentations being really core to the work that we're doing. So it's really great to see that happening. And on our next slide, we look at sort of how is the vision, mission, and values connected to the strat plan. So our vision defines the organization's long-term aspirations and provides a shared picture of future success. It guides strategic goals towards meaningful population level impacts and aligns leaders, staff, and partners around a common direction. Our mission translates the vision into daily action by clarifying what the organization does, who it serves, how it delivers value. It acts as a practical filter for decisions, ensuring initiatives stay focused, relevant, and aligned with the organization's core purpose. Our values shape how the mission and vision are carried out by setting expectations for behavior, decision-making, and collaboration. In the context of the strat plan, values help teams navigate complex decisions, trade-offs, and challenges by clarifying what matters most when priorities compete. They also reinforce trust and credibility, both internally and externally, by ensuring that actions align with stated principles. So bringing this all together, the vision, mission, and values serve as the backbone for the strat plan, aligning long-term goals with day-to-day work. They enable consistent decision-making, clear communication of priorities, and adaptability while maintaining a focus on lasting community impact. And next, Danielle is going to discuss how the work group has been developing strategies to highlight and connect with vision, mission, and values into the everyday work.
Danielle's online.
Yes, Danielle's online.
Hi. Thanks, Chris. In terms of strategy development, during the assess stage of planning, we reviewed best practices, queried literature, journals to determine effective interventions to integrate vision, mission, values into all aspects of a workplace. From that assessment, our recommendation was to develop intentional and diverse strategies within 5 focus areas that engage staff and enhance communication and dialogue, thereby keeping our vision, mission, and values at the forefront of our work. Next slide. The first focus area is leadership commitment and participation, and the intent here is to have leaders consistently championing vision, mission, and values through role modeling, fostering a culture of alignment and purpose. One of the main activities that has taken place is the creation of a manager's toolkit that includes a number of different strategies to integrate vision, mission, values into team meetings and one-on-one touch bases through icebreakers, conversation starters, and specific agenda items. The toolkit also offers communication tips to anchor staff communication in vision, mission, values. Managers have committed to completing at least 1 strategy per quarter, and managers have already started to share their reflections at monthly meetings. Next slide. The second focus area is communication, visibility, and staff awareness. The intent here is that vision, mission, and values are clearly communicated and visible across the organization. To kick this off, shortly after the launch of the strategic plan in 2024, there was an all-staff collage activity. We took the words healthy community from our vision statement, and every team was given a letter and asked to fill the letter with images, words, or materials that reflected our vision. Some teams got really creative, and we were able to showcase the end results at our 2024 holiday gathering, and it's also pictured at the bottom of the slide. In 2025, we held a photo contest for staff where photos were submitted that showcased how our vision, mission, and values come to life in our work and in the communities that we live in and serve. We had a great turnout for the contest, and the winning picture is shown on the slide, and that was of the Northern Lights. For 2026, we just launched a variety of physical and digital products that highlight our vision, mission, values. This includes welcome postcards for new hires in orientation packages, magnets for individual workstations, and I believe both of which were handed out this evening. We also created 2 new Teams backgrounds, one of which I'm highlighting tonight. We also created new digital displays in the reception waiting area, did promotion on the intranet. We added a slide to our corporate PowerPoint template and added staff washroom posters. All of these items serve as a consistent reminder of where we're going, what we do, and why we do it on a daily basis. Next slide. The third focus area is hiring and onboarding practices. We have work planned to update our interview questions related to vision, mission, values so that we have the ability to change the question based on the position or position level and have an inventory of questions rather than one standard question. We also want to ensure new or returning staff are aware of our vision, mission, values early on in the onboarding and orientation process by providing materials or directing them to resources. The fourth focus area is performance management and staff team recognition. Some of you may remember the strategy presentation from the November Board of Health meeting that highlighted the new Pulse 360 performance management tool. One of the criteria when seeking a new tool was ensuring it measured aspects of our vision, mission, values, and that was important to establishing a strong organizational culture. So just to provide a few examples of alignment of the tool with our values, for the value adaptability, there is a question on the tool about understanding and adapting to changing policies, procedures, and priorities. For the value equity, there is a question about consistently advocating to improve the health of the population. And for the value empathy, there is a question about showing compassion for clients, community partners, or colleagues in distress. Next slide. The last focus area is around decision-making. The purpose of this focus area is to ensure organizational decisions are guided by our vision, mission, and values and promote integrity and consistency in all strategic and operational choices. The work plan for this area is to do a scan of all of our decision support tools, assess whether the tool is appropriate to modify, and then recommend improvements to integrate aspects of vision, mission, values into the decision-making criteria. An example of this may be modifying the tool we use to choose vendors or consultants in our RFP or RFQ process, or incorporating aspects of vision, mission, values into how we establish or evaluate partnerships. Next slide. And that is a glimpse into how we've been developing this strategy, and we're happy to take questions.
Again, all three priorities, you guys have hit it right and hit the nail on the head. I guess to get the same question again is staff engagement is very important, right? And it looks like to me is that all these little things all come together, and we have a lot of staff, and to keep them engaged in what you're doing is great. So I think it's awesome, and I think you're on the right track. That's my opinion. So any other questions around the table or line? Again, great job. Thank you so much.